That's better.
All right, welcome to WOW TV. I hope you're all having a fabulous week. My name is Anita Voth and I will be your host today. So we're taking a short break from interviewing authors from book 7 of the series, which is called 16 Women Who Are Thriving Through Turbulent Times. And we're taking just a short break today to make room for 3 amazing women that are joining us today, and also who all happen to be #1 best-selling authors. So I feel like there's a bit of a theme there. It's like, you got to be a #1 best-selling author to be on WOW TV. So those who are joining us live, feel free to ask questions as we go, and just unmute yourself when you have a question, or anyone watching the recording later, you can just put your questions in the Facebook group and we'll make sure to get those answered for you as well. So I'm excited about today's guests. They also happen to be mother and daughters, and they've all written chapters in one of the WOW, at least one of the WOW collaborative book series. So they're kind of joining us today to give us a unique perspective, kind of as a family, on how they've evolved and thrived through this pandemic. So I want to welcome DeeAnn Lensen, Nicole Slenning, and Kirsten Slenning. Welcome, you guys.
Hi.
Hi.
So great to have you here. And you know what, before we dive into the interview, I just wanted to say congratulations to Kirsten for starring in a movie coming up on Hallmark. So yay you. Maybe you can just share a little bit more about when that's coming out and how that happened.
Well, it already aired on Hallmark Channel in the States.
Okay.
And yeah, and I do appear throughout the movie. I'm not exactly starring in it, but thank you for saying that.
We'll say you're starring.
Yeah, okay, that feels nice. And it premieres in Canada on the W Network on Saturday.
Awesome. So was that all filmed during COVID?
It was, yeah, it was filmed this summer.
Here in Vancouver, or?
Langley and Burnaby, and yeah.
Yeah, in the area.
In the area, yeah.
So that must have been a different experience filming during COVID. Like, did a lot of things change or not so much?
Yeah, it was very different. I mean, the key elements were all in place, a normal set, but
yeah,
just lots of little differences, like daily temperature checks and daily symptom assessments, and a lot of gloves, a lot of masks, a lot of hand sanitizer. So, I mean, we would be wearing masks even during rehearsals, which was difficult. Sometimes just couldn't get it out. So I'd have to take the mask off to do rehearsal because it's just hard to rehearse. And yeah, so there's a lot of kind of a game of like, oh, where do I stash my masks once we're rolling? Because you can't hand it to anybody, it's on your face. And, you know, it's just, like, can you see it in my pocket? Can you, you know, just all those things. So yeah, it was very different, but they did a really good job and we felt as safe as we could. So
awesome. And what's the name of the movie?
Jingle Bell Bride.
Jingle Bell. So that means Christmas is coming already. If they're starting to play all the Christmas movies, I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Yeah, it feels a bit premature, but I think it's a long-standing Hallmark tradition. So
yes,
they start
it kind of kicks off the season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, congratulations again, Kirsten.
Thanks.
So, I'm just going to ask the first question and open it up to the 3 of you to answer. So how has, you just shared a little bit, Kirsten, how the pandemic's changed your business life of being an actress. But for all of you, how has your everyday lives, your business lives changed, and even how you relate to each other? Because I know you don't all live in the same area. So maybe DeeAnn, you can kick us off on that question.
I'll kick off briefly. With regards to my business, of course, the spa industry shutting down for 3 months and then opening up a little tiny bit at a time. It really was a challenge for me to wear a whole lot more hats, but also to stay focused. And, when you're frustrated with business, it's so easy to quiet the noise with things like, lots of Netflix or eating sugar or having a drink of wine, and all of those things, interfere with the energy and the focus that we need to move forward. And I just decided to focus on really, really being present. Eckhart Tolle says that the secret to success and everything in our life is being one with life, and being present every moment, and really focusing on making a difference, whether it's making a difference to the spa that we're working with, or someone that I'm training, or making a difference to the coaching programs that we're working on. It just really helped me to stay focused and to stay connected and to ask for help. And yeah, really fun.
And I think, Nicole, you don't live in Canada right now, do you?
Correct. I live in Oregon.
In Oregon. So have you been able to see each other since March, or?
Just in these little boxes. That's it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is the longest I've ever gone without seeing my mom and my sister.
Yeah. And I'm sure they miss you, and you have kids out there, right?
Yeah, I have a daughter, Chloe, who's 16, and a son, Karch, who's 13, and they're both homeschooling, or I guess online schooling at home.
Yeah.
That's a correct way to say it, which is tough because I'm working from home now, so we're all together in a 1,200 square foot house.
Yay!
All the time.
All the time.
When things started to lock down in the spring, my partner, he was even home from work for a few weeks, and so we were all here all the time. So yeah, it's been challenging, but I will say a positive that has come from us being together all the time is I am so much more closer with my children now than I ever have been. So
wow, that's good.
Yeah.
Would they feel the same about you?
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of talked about that because there's definitely times when mom takes some very deep breaths and loud enough that everyone can hear, which is a sign to give me some space.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had those conversations where I'm like, gosh, you guys, even though I had to spend hours and hours out of my workday to help my son get back on track because he was way behind in a lot of his classes because he was just logging off when he wanted to, and there's no one to stop doing that.
Yeah.
And even after we got him caught up and it was kind of end of the week, I just said, I feel like we're all much closer because of these experiences. And they both just agreed, and we're like, yeah, we like spending all this time with you. And it's
That's nice.
And the other interesting thing is them seeing me work, I think has been very different for them, like actually seeing me like on the computer all day, and kind of like the stress of that, or being in meetings, and so them actually seeing that, I think has changed their perspective a little bit too.
Yeah, they probably just imagined you at home eating bonbons on the couch while they were at school before, right?
Yeah.
So Kirsten, I think you have kids too, and you're juggling your career with kids at home. How's that going for you?
It's tough. I have little kids. So my son's in grade 2. My oldest son, he's Jude, he's 7.5. And my youngest is almost 4, and he's in preschool just for the morning. And my husband works full time from home as well, mostly now. Usually he's a musician, so we're used to having him on the road a lot, but that's changed. And so that's been actually nice for me. I mean, it's hard for him because he doesn't really get to do what he loves to do in the same way. But yeah, so there's a lot of juggling. So my kids were my son was, sort of doing online school, but when you're in grade 1 at the time when he was, when the lockdown happened, it's not really, there's not really much to do. They don't exactly force them to, do lectures or something. So it was mostly just homeschool, and I kind of included my youngest because what else was he going to do? So I tried to do age appropriate kind of homeschool type things with him, and set up a schedule and tried to commit to that schedule. And it was good for my sanity to try and be strict with that. But it became very clear that, I was not meant to homeschool, and it's not my gift being a teacher. And my son just has a very strong positive attachment to school, being in school and being taught by a teacher. And so it was a real challenge. And I think all of a sudden, all the resources that we had as parents, like access to grandparents and libraries and, just playgrounds,
Outings, even
all
just
that
outings, right?
it was all taken away. So it was intense for a while. And what it really highlighted for me was just that I want a career, that's as much as I love my kids to death. I think I'm a better mom when I have more balance. And for me, that creative time and focus is important. And so the fact that I booked Jingle Bell Bride during, it was the summer, but after reflecting on that time in the spring of homeschooling and stuff was really interesting, because it felt like it was a sign, that's a big deal, and that carving out time for that is worth it. And the other thing that I learned kind of along the way too was, which I think a lot of parents need to be reminded of repeatedly, is that self-care is absolutely in line with being a better parent. And that's hard for moms, I think, especially to not feel selfish for taking time. And so, yeah, it clarified, funnily enough, COVID seemed to clarify a lot of things for me and my family. And I had a similar experience that Nicole described of being on set, which is, long hours, as most people know. It's not like 9 to 5. You don't know when you're going to be done. And it's often like 12 hours or whatever. And so being gone, even though it wasn't like I was gone for weeks and weeks at a time, but it was over the course of a couple of weeks, just all of a sudden I wasn't there, and my husband was doing the lion's share of, what you do as a parent and having, a home and kids. And I think that was really important for them to be like, oh, mom does something too, because they just think of me as a mom. And so I think that was a good lesson for everyone too.
That's beautiful. Like, I think you're right in saying that COVID has made it very clear to a lot of people what they're good at and what they're not good at, right? Mm-hmm. And so the appreciation for teachers in the school system as moms, if we suddenly have to homeschool and that's not our gift, is like, oh man, I really had needed that. And you didn't realize it until it's gone sometimes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like my mom said, staying present, and being grateful for those things. Like, I think we take less for granted. As you said, when things get taken away, it puts a magnifying glass on it. And so, yeah.
DeeAnn, you must really miss Nicole and her. Are you able to see Kirsten and her kids?
Yeah, on a limited basis. And we're just really careful. And I'm really close to her kids, especially the youngest who lived with us while they renovated their house. I haven't seen my grandkids, my 5 grandkids in Oregon, since last Christmas. It's the first time in 35 years living here that I haven't been back about every 3 months.
Yeah.
So, but we do Zoom calls for birthdays where I have 5 brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles come on, and each person, everyone shares, and there's my sister Gail. Everyone shares what they like best about that person or what they appreciate about that person. And see the little kids in Oregon standing there, like my husband said to my grandson Evan, I think you're very respectful. That's one of the things I really like about you. And little Evan goes, it's been huge. It's been huge. And one of the people that has really helped us morph is Nicole, because Kristen's husband started a platform called SideDoor. I really want to hear about Nicole's, because so many people have had to go online, and Nicole is my mentor for doing that. And if it weren't her, I wouldn't be starting an online coaching course. So Nicole, I want to hear about how this has worked for you, as well as what you can share with other people that are about to go online.
Well, SideDoor
Great.
originally started as a marketplace to connect artists with hosts. So like musicians who are on tour could like do a concert like in your backyard or, at a barn or whatever. So that was the original concept. And then obviously when COVID hit, as Kirsten mentioned, DeeAnn couldn't tour anymore. And so the platform pivoted to doing Zoom concerts. And so where artists can set up a profile, then they can sell tickets and they can do an intimate show where the artist can see the audience still and just perform from their living room. And it's been really crazy, as Kirsten can tell you. But it's also been really magical in that we're connecting people to not only art, which is something that we all need right now, but because we're losing that connection with that human connection so much now, that we're also connecting communities. So I help with the marketing side of things, and I help when people want to get on into the shows, because there's sometimes Zoom can be tricky to figure out. So yeah, it's been pretty crazy, but it's been really rewarding to be part of.
Wow. So I guess 8 months ago now, you would never have imagined that this is where you would be by fall. Like, was this a total change for you from what you were doing before?
Yeah, in February, I was laid off from a job where I worked for a YouTube creator. And so when that happened, Dan was like, "Hey, I could use some help promoting, my tour." And then that got canceled. And then he said, "Hey, if you're interested, we need someone in the Pacific Northwest to help promote SideDoor." I was like, "Yeah, sure," because I've always believed in the concept. I always believe in supporting artists. There's this weird thing in our culture where we don't think artists deserve to get paid. Where like a surgeon can have a salary, but an artist, can you play my gig? Can you play at my house for free? Well, no, it doesn't work that way. So it's something I've always believed in. So it just kind of worked out. And yes, I went from being laid off, unemployed, to COVID, freaking out that how am I going to get a job when no one's working?
Yeah.
And and then I went from that transition to I have more work than I can handle. So
I can imagine with 2 teens at home that you're helping on the side with school, and that's a lot to juggle.
it is, yeah.
But I know you've been a huge help, I think, inspiration maybe to DeeAnn as well in her business. Maybe DeeAnn, you can share with us a little bit, what's happening in your spa business, and you've also changed directions a little bit because of the pandemic. So why don't you explain that process to us?
Well, and I really have always felt that the success I've had in the spa business was because I was empowering from the inside out. It's not just about what we put on our face. And so empowering spa staff and consulting spa owners, etc., that was my heart, as well as products. But I had let the coaching side of my business really kind of drop down a little bit. And that's, again, part of being busy and working in your business instead of on your business. And
Yeah.
when Nicole had some free time, I started sending her questions, and she built my website. I will create a marketing piece and send it to her, and she'll tweak it, and in 10 minutes it'll come back and it'll shock me how she just brings it out better. It's just so much better when Nicole does it. I'm sorry she's so busy now. But I am doing an online event, which is a coaching event with Dr. Rose Backman. She's a specialized emotional and physical kinesiologist. So she's going to be working on helping people release their blocks, and I'm going to be working on helping people to with their self-talk and all of those things that we need to work on in order to be empowered from the inside out. So yeah, this is exciting. And Nicole made that.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, she is very, very gifted. And the fact that she can just lay it on the line with me and tell me what I need to do to grow.
Yeah.
Because people in this business are that are going on Zoom and having to recreate their marketing, they need coaching, because a lot of things get left out that I didn't even know that I needed. And if I wasn't a little bit unstoppable, I'll tell you, I would have quit this lots of times. I would have said, oh, it's not going to work. But yeah, her help has been invaluable.
Mm. Well, and so now you're juggling kind of two things, your spa distribution business as well as your coaching business. So how do you stay motivated and on track and not get distracted?
Well, one of the things that I do is to keep my energy up. I'm doing a Zoom workout Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, and it's at 7 o'clock, and it really makes me stay motivated and it helps to keep my energy up. And that really makes a difference. But I just have to keep reminding myself that what gets measured gets done. You know, prioritizing my day and really helping the people that I work with to do more and to learn how to do more just makes such a big difference.
Beautiful.
I need to remember that there's a saying that to launch a rocket ship, 90% of the energy is for the first 100 feet. And sometimes I need to remember that getting started with something new is going to take a lot of energy, and we need to be unstoppable to make it happen.
Yeah. Great word, unstoppable. So anything else, Kirsten, Nicole, DeeAnn, anything else you want to share at this moment? I know you've all got amazing new things happening, super busy lives, but we have a couple more minutes if there's anything else you want to share or any questions from the viewers.
If there's no questions, or is there a question?
I was just going to ask, I'm Constance from Oregon. What structures do you have in place that empower your success?
That's a great question for my mom.
You know what, so I just briefly, you know, my story is I grew up in Utah and I just knew I didn't fit in. I wasn't the right religion, apparently, and the right culture. And I had a situation where I was riding my bike at about 9 years old, and these boys came up with rocks in their t-shirt and stoned me, and I fell on the ground, cut my leg. And at that moment, I realized, well, I really don't fit in and I'm really not good enough. And I reenacted that throughout my life until I recognized that I needed to create new beliefs, because we get what we believe, not what we think, not what we talk about.
Absolutely.
To create new habits, as I was saying early on, that will support those beliefs. And again, what gets measured gets done. So having a process to be able to create new habits and to track where it is I want to be, because for me, it's all about making a difference. So what difference do I want to make, and what do I need to get there? And you know, that old day timer that breaks your day down into A task, B task, C task, and you don't touch a B until you've done all the A's. That's me.
That works for you. Thank you.
So Nicole and Kirsten were both in, I think, book 4, Moms in Business, along with DeeAnn. So that's kind of the last we heard from the two of you. And DeeAnn's been in several editions of the book since as well. And so I know she has some great laid out points in some of her chapters that can give you some of those strategies as well, which are super helpful. Mm-hmm. So any thoughts of writing again, Nicole or Kirsten?
I kind of feel like I barely can get enough time to, you know, record my audition self tapes, and I'm taking a class right now for specifically that, because the industry had to kind of pivot from any kind of in-person audition to them all being either self-taped or on Zoom. Wow. And so there was people always did self-tape auditions occasionally, but now it's just like it's the norm. So anyways, so making time for that, doing this class, I'm at my absolute max.
And that's good to know. It's good to know when you can't take on anymore and when it's time
Yeah.
to say no, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. What about you, Nicole?
Yeah, I'm kind of at that same space right now as Kirsten. Someone else approached me about doing some work for them, and as much as I hated to say no, I had to say no. I just need to make sure that, because on top of everything, both my kids are in club sports, and so there's that. At least there isn't travel anymore, but they're still playing, several times a week and on the weekends and stuff. So
Yeah.
I did really enjoy the experience when I wrote with my mom and Kirsten. It really pushed me to actually talk about myself, because I'm so used to helping other people promote themselves. It was like kind of a kick in the butt of like, it's okay to tell your story.
Yeah.
And so that was a really cool experience for me.
That's a great point. Great point. And then there's self-care too on top of that, right? Okay, well, if anyone wants to connect with any of today's guests, I will be putting links in the Facebook group beneath the recording. So feel free to connect with any of the guests today. And thank you all for including WOW TV in your day. So to continue to hear how women are thriving during this pandemic and learn their secrets, please join us again next week, Wednesday at 12:15, when we continue to interview authors from book 7. And of course, we've got book 8, also kind of post-pandemic, launching on December 9th. So many things happening. So I just want to end this week's episode with a quote. I felt that really what embodied all three of you is courage, because we all face things. We all face fears. It's about what we do with those things and the courage to pivot if you need to pivot, or just to keep going, right? So the quote I chose was from Oprah Winfrey, and she says this: "You get in life what you have the courage to ask for." And I think it's a good reminder, because sometimes we need to ask for help, and sometimes we just need to ask for what we want in our lives, no matter what that might look like. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us today, and have an awesome week.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.